video. I've always wanted to do a series like this just to help other people how I've kind of got to like learning some of the basics and everything. And of course, makeup is always evolving and changing. But this series is primarily for people who are like, I don't know anything. And this was also just like a little special request, so I'm really excited about it. But I don't know anything. So how I'm gonna be describing things are just very much like as if this is someone who hasn't put a lick of makeup on their face. When they go to the drugstore, they don't know what to look for. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna be very detailed. So if you appreciate that, then feel free to stick around. And of course, this is definitely not for the people who have a lot of experience with makeup. They go to Sephora, they don't need any help, or when you go to the drugstore, you don't need any help. This is for the people who actually like need the help. So I will be speaking in very simple terms and things like that. So this is gonna be multiple parts, and I love series because I get to organize it. I know. So the very first thing we're gonna, focus on are the brows. So I'm gonna have a lot of imageries. I'm gonna try to have a lot of imageries here, but one person when I think of brows is ABH, Anastasia Beverly Hills, which is ironic because when I went to see Bailey, I got their brow powder duo. So this is what I ended up getting. I've seen this before, and if you know me and if you're following this page, I swear by their brow whiz, and I've had it since I was about 16, 17, I think. Yeah, it's like 16, 17. So it's been about a decade since I've had it. But I wanted to try something different. So when I went to Ulta, I ended up getting this like brow duo. And because as you know, I pretty much use an eyebrow pencil and I use a brow pen. Let's step back a little bit. This could be very confusing, but I just wanted to mention that I'm trying something different, okay, which you eventually will be doing. So now, ABH, she is the queen of eyebrows, and she has multiple videos, and you can look it up too, and I will insert here. And I think like one of my old videos on my Instagram is me talking about brows and like how to fill them in. Now, because we're gonna work with what we have, and I don't have eyebrow pencils right now, but this should kind of work with what you have. So the first thing in general is when it comes to brows is, because the first thing that you see, it's what frames your face, is first of all, what do I need, right? It's like, what do I need for my eyebrow pencil? So if you go to Sephora, Ulta, any drugstore, the first thing I would recommend personally, because it's easier, it's classic, it's old school, is a brow pencil. So any brow pencil that matches like your hair color, I would highly recommend. So going into any store, I'm going to be very descriptive here, but like walking into any store, it could be a CVS, Walgreens, Duane Reade, whatever place, beauty supply store, whatever it is, finding a brow pencil, like it'll be labeled like a brow pencil. And typically if you have dark hair like this, like look for like a dark brown. I personally would not do black. Black can be a little bit too harsh for some people in certain features. But then again, makeup is subjective, but it's just for the folks who are just kind of like, tell me what to do. So usually if you have dark hair, go for like a dark brown. And if you are a brunette, then usually there's like a different shade of like brown, you know what I mean? So, and you can sometimes swatch it, but I would say getting an eyebrow pencil and ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help, okay? I know it's hard, and if you want, you can go online and just see what the swatches look like, but I would definitely recommend any drugstore or any high-end, wherever you are in your budget, but just finding a brow pencil. Because the thing is, technology is changing, things have changed. We now have brow pens, okay? I have a brow pen, I love it. I love a good brow pen. We're not gonna get into that, but people love brow pens because they can be an artist. You can individually kind of like, draw little hairs, which I've shown before in my old videos. But I feel like a brow pen, it's like a pen. You're literally just kind of like, drawing it in. So now that we figured out, we're gonna start with the brow pencil. It's just easier that way. And then of course, as you get more comfortable, you can try out with other products and everything, but I would recommend like some kind of like a brow pencil. I like the Brow Wiz just because it is more expensive. Sometimes you're like, do I really need to spend this much? No, you can try out a drugstore and then make your way up. I just like the Brow Wiz because with some brow pencils, it kind of like, you just feel like you have more control. And when we say that you have more control, it just means that when you like put a little line, it's not like, you know what I mean? Like it's not like a Sharpie. It's just like the texture and the feel of it, like the way they formulated this. It's so that way when you have, like when you're straightening in your brows, it's not looking too crazy. It's not like you literally getting a pen and just kind of like, drawing it on. The next thing is, okay, you found a brow pencil. It's your shade, it matches your hair color. Some people say to do 1 to 2 shades lighter than your hair color. Me as a black woman with pretty much dark hair, probably level 2 or 4 when it comes to the hair grading system, like color system, I like to just stick to good old dark chocolate, dark, you know what I mean? Like you don't want it to look too harsh, but of course you can get more creative. However, so yeah, you found your brow pencil to figure out where your brows start and where they end. Right here, like the indent. You kind of get this pen or a pencil, whatever you have that's like a stick. It could be child. I have this like razor. It doesn't matter, but it just helps since you're gonna be filling in your brows. So you're just gonna like hold it like this. Just hold it straight, right? Just hold it straight. Bring it to where the indent is. I'm just bringing this down because I want where the tip of the pencil, by the way, I found this on the floor. I didn't even tell you that. I found this on the floor. There's not much left. If you can see, there's just not much left on this. The top part that has a little bit of product so that I can like kind of like mark it a little bit, which sounds, see that? So I did this kind of, this is straight. This is technically where your brows is supposed to start, right here. I'm just gonna like, you can obviously see that right here. So it's like, I don't have very full, thick, luscious brows. So my brows technically start like, not start, but they kind of like, the brow hairs though, they start right here. So it's not that far from where your brows are technically supposed to start. And what I mean by technically, it just means that it frames your face a little bit more. If you ever like fill in your brows, sometimes you can tell when your brows look like they're running away from each other a little bit. You know what I mean? Like it looks like they're kind of like running away from each other. So when you do that, it just kind of pulls your face a little bit more. It looks more flattering. And of course, again, like if you're always like, why are we doing this? Try doing the opposite and seeing how you like it and how it frames your face and how, you know, it works for your face. Everybody's face is different. We don't have the same face shape, but I think given this is like, you know, a lot of like brow specialists, is what they usually recommend. So do the other side right here. Oh gosh. Yeah, this is literally not much product left because I just did too much. So right here, right here, and just kind of like mark it. So obviously you'll have more product on your brow pen, or your brow pencil, sorry. And you can just kind of mark it. And it's supposed to be light. Don't be like me where I'm just trying to show you for visual purposes. I'm very visual. And now where your brows is supposed to end. It's like the whole idea of like an arch. So some people say your arch is technically supposed to be like meeting up with like when you look directly. Now to figure out where your brow is supposed to end, it's supposed to be, again, diagonally right here, diagonal to like the end of your nose right here. And of course we'll insert images. So like right here, see that? I'm literally putting it up my nose right here. I'm looking in my mirror. That's why I'm like trying to. Right here, I'm gonna move it up. Right here. And look at that, my brow surprisingly does stop right here. See that? That dot, boom, boom. And that's technically what, like, you know, frames your face a little bit better. Okay. And then for the arch, if I remember correctly, some people say like the tip of your nose to right here. And voila. Again, not everyone has like an arch. I'm just saying, I think my brows too, the way they're shaped, like when I get them threaded, it just naturally like just kind of like, thankfully it's very easy to see. I'm not working too hard, thank God, when it comes to that. So as you can see here, and you do the same thing. I always drop things every time I'm filming. And do the same thing on the other side, right here, right here. Oops, gotta be touching right here. Touch right here. Ooh. Okay, I don't want to push my eyelash. Be gentle. But look at that. That's exactly where it stops. So it's like right here, meeting up right here. Okay. Now let's get to actually filling in our brows. So we have our map right here. We're gonna stop right here. We're gonna start right here. Stop right here. I unfortunately do not have a pencil, but I'm gonna still describe it and show you a little bit the best way that I can. And I will say this, most brow pencils do have a spoolie. So a spoolie, this is kind of gross, sorry y'all, but a spoolie is basically this. So if you've seen something like this, it looks like kind of like an eyebrow, yeah. If you have a spoolie, if you can buy an extra one, but most of them come on the end, like it has one on the end of like an eyebrow pencil. Or you can also buy one separately. Like I have this brush right here. and it's like an applicator. So these are called spoolies. Sephora sells them. Sorry, they do sell them, but you can also go where if you go to Sephora to sample things, or if you're trying like testing stuff, like they have a bunch, like with the pink, you know what I'm talking about? So yeah, I think Ulta do too, but in general, like spoolies are very much available. You can get them for free if you don't want to go out and buy one. So the point of a spoolie, at least when it comes to eyebrows, is so that way you can kind of like brush it off, like just right here, right? This harsh mark, you're gonna see me just kind of like brush it off. It just kind of like blends, see, it kind of brushes it away, but it also kind of like disperse the product. So if I do something that's too harsh, I'm gonna just show you for visual purposes. I'm gonna grab my brow pen, right? Like this is not the vibe. Like this is not the vibe for me. So I'm like, you know what? You know, anytime you feel like you make a little mistake or it's a little too harsh looking, and if it's on harsh looking, you just grab that spoolie and you just start brushing. And you see as I'm brushing, it's like, and I'm brushing this way. See that? It's not as harsh. It's, the color is still there, but it's just not as, it just kind of goes in and it blends. So the point of a spoolie is to blend, and also is to blend it out a little bit more if it's too harsh. Now you have your brow pencil and you're like, what do I do? Or just in general, I hate using the word flattering sometimes. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking more of like for clothes, because I have feelings about that. But anyway, so when it comes to filling in your brows, run into the river when you dance. When it comes to filling in your brows, you gotta go in with a very light hand. You're not gonna be getting the pen and just kind of like pressing hard. We're not doing that. What we're doing is with your natural shape, which also helps too if your eyebrows are threaded or waxed or it's shaped. This definitely helps. But again, you can also work around that. My brows are freshly threaded, so this is very easy for me right now. So I'm just gonna like lightly, see I'm doing this? See, there is some product on here, like it's not a lot, but it's just a little bit. I'm gonna like slowly just kind of like, I'm doing this. This is how I fill my brows. Like I'm following the outline of my brows here because we're shaping it. Short little strokes. So when I'm making a whole line, literally you're doing 1, 2, 1, 2. Like you're making your way, sorry about that. We're making our way, like following this outline, right? 1, 2, 1, 2. Oops, sorry, let me just focus. Like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And as you can see, you can, well, when you're doing this, you can see the product, like you can see, okay, this is like shaping it. 1, 2, 1, 2. And we're not pressing hard, y'all. We're making it just enough that the product, like the brow pencil, is touching the skin. Like I feel it. I feel it touching the skin. I'm just doing this. 1, 2, 1, 2. And then when you get to the arch, right here, you're gonna turn. You're obviously gonna. We're following this line here, like the underneath part of your brows. It's gonna be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and wherever your brows like naturally, wherever your brows like naturally stops, you know, you can stop at some point. 1, 2, 1, 2, just enough you're like, okay, I'm satisfied, right? Because it's all based off of like your preference. Like 1, 2, 1, 2. So kind of like turn, and we're gonna stop. Now you can see how this isn't really connected. And this is when, again, you can kind of like brush your hair. This is, besides the point of like blending, this will also help you like kind of brush your hairs in the direction that you want it to be. So I'm just gonna like take this part right here because my brows naturally, and now we're gonna, this is how I do it at least. Because you can also go back up, right? We did the bottom. Now we're gonna move up to the top. We could just do that too. So let's just top 1, 2. Barely, I'm literally touching my skin. Like I can feel it on my skin, but I'm not pressing hard. So I'm literally just kind of like 1, 2, 1, 2. And some people also, like, they don't really need to fill in their brows. Some people have some thick, luscious brows where they don't really need to fill in their brows. And if you're one of those people, that's lucky, super lucky. You can definitely skip this, you know, episode, I guess. So I'm gonna like 2, top. Like I'm just kind of like making short little strokes until I like kind of like get to the bottom, right? Does that help a little bit? Does that make sense? And then When it comes to the tail is a lot of the times like very like scarred, like it's scares, whatever for some people. So this one you can make short little strokes filling it in. We're not pressing hard. We're literally just like doing this. See that? Little strokes. And this is when so there are some gaps in some people's brows. Like, you know, I have some like spots that's like kind of like empty looking. So this is a time for you to kind of like fill that little spot in. See that? And then when it gets to the front of the brows, because technically, societally and whatever, we've decided that it looks much better for your brows for it to look a little bit like have that ombre effect in the beginning. So usually you don't want your brows, the beginning of your brows to look like the end, right? You don't want to like one block, like those Nike brows. So usually we'll just go lighter, like even lighter. Like I make like barely touching. See that? This is when I use the spoolie to blend it in, especially the front. So you'll see a lot. I hope I can't pick up on the beeping outside. But this is when you can like grab your spoolie. This is why you see a lot of people when they do their brow videos, if any people really even film themselves doing their brows anymore. We just kind of like do this in the front. So that way it looks blended. See how it looks a little bit more blended in the front? It doesn't look as harsh. Again, as you're doing this, if you lost track of where your brow is kind of supposed to start, you go back over here. So yeah, for me, I need to kind of like move it in a little bit more because yeah, my brow needs to. So this is when you can do little short strokes going up. So you're imitating the hairs. Because if you see here in my brow hairs, they're kind of going up this way just because I took the spoolie and I did this, which I like the look of that. Some people will just kind of like go this way. I like the look of the front of my brows being like this. Does that make any sense? So we're just going to be literally light little strokes in the front right here until I get to the part where technically I'm supposed to have my brow started. And do a little bit more. Ooh, light. Yo, I'm barely working with any product here, but you get the point. Light little stroke. I'm not just enough where my skin, you saw my skin kind of moving a little bit. I'm not pressing hard. I'm just enough where the pen itself is touching my skin and I feel it, you know, gliding on my skin. I'm not pressing hard. So when the front, you want it to be a even lighter hand because you don't want it to look too harsh. So I'm just gonna like blend this a little bit because you don't want it to look too harsh. Okay. This is where, and we can get into this and we'll talk about this, or maybe we should focus on now. I'm not sure. But cleaning up the brows. So this makes a huge difference when it comes to cleaning up the brows. I'm just going to clean my brows and then we can talk a little bit more about that. I forgot about these palettes. I was like doing little mini series on TikTok. So you can use a brush or you can use the applicator itself. The main thing I'm right now is like, you can see there's like a shadow over here. But my brow is technically like, just because I did like the, see that? It just cancels it out. Look at that. It just cancels it out. And when by cleaning up the brow, it just means that you're using a concealer or a brush that is angled like this, preferably. Right? Anything that's angled, so that way you can kind of take it and then you just kind of follow the shape of your brows underneath and kind of clean up. You're not going into your hair, but you're just cleaning up where, you know, just to make it look sharper. You know, I already did that. And I'm going to blend. I'm going to use my finger and just blend right on top. Just kind of like. So I'm literally just patting into my skin where I applied the concealer. I'm just going to do this a couple times because you want it to look like very apparent. And of course, my brows could look a little bit more sharp, but I'm like running out of product. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the other eyebrows. Actually, maybe we should just try out the brow powder. Maybe if you want to see what that looks like. I'm gonna grab the darkest shade and just maybe, I don't know, it's my first time using, I think, like powder for my brows. So I'm gonna grab the darkest shade and blend it. Honestly, I'm gonna dab into both of them, like right here. Yeah, like right here, that where they both meet. I'm gonna tap off the excess. This is nerve-wracking because I don't know if I'm gonna like it. Again, light, I'm not dragging, light strokes. So I'm literally just like barely touching my skin. Like I'm literally like, it kind of tickles almost with how I am like lightly dragging the product over the hairs that I already have. Now I'm like, when it comes to the top, where I'm like framing the brows, like shaping it like we were doing with the pen, I'm obviously gonna be a little bit, you know, like the same way. We're doing short little strokes like this way. I'm gonna do around the tail this way, and the product ran out, so we have to dip back in. I'm gonna focus a little bit more on the darker chocolate because I feel like the lighter color, like this is cute though, but I just want it to be, I don't mind my brows being a little bit darker on the end, which is typical. Most people want their brows to be darker on the end and lighter in the front. Because usually in the front, you're mimicking your, wait, this looks good. Y'all see that? Oh, wow. So as I'm getting to the front, I'm being more like, oh crap. Because the front is the part where it's like, you know, gotta be more diligent. So I'm like flicking it up. This is powder though. It's not gonna be mimicking the brow hairs as much. Oh, this looks nice. Oh, wait. Or again, where we're supposed to start. Get a little bit closer. It doesn't have to be like a line where it's like this is where we're starting, but it's just like a little visual to kind of like, you can bring your product a little bit closer. Okay, I'm just gonna like take the angled brush and have it standing up, and you'll see here, just kind of like touching my skin, up, 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 into the hair, sorry, into the hairline, up. Trying to be gentle because there is some product on this, and you usually want the front to be a little bit more like, okay, this looks nice. This literally looks like Brow Wiz, but in a powder form. I was a little bit sus when I got this. I'm not even kidding. I was a little bit sus when I got this, but this looks really nice. I'm going to go in and fix this brow just because, and this is a lot quicker too, I feel. Okay, we're just going to go in over it. See how I'm like framing it? I need to fill in a little bit more of the sparse areas. Yeah, right there. Okay, I like this. Okay, I'm going to show you all a part of my brow that is very sparse, and you're gonna see how I fill that in. And this is what I mean by sparse. It just means like those little gaps in your brows that are just naturally there. We're human beings. Some parts of the brows just don't really grow that well. I don't even think I really need to clean this up. Yeah, I don't even think I need to clean this up. And I love the color because chocolate was my color. Like the Brow Wiz chocolate shade was my color back then. Okay, we're gonna zoom in right here. It's a bit of a sparse area. Totally fine, completely normal. We're just kind of gonna like fill it. Let's add a little bit more product. Not even, just barely tapping. And we're gonna fill this area in. Lightly just, see that? And this is, I'm like, at this point, I'm following the direction of the hairs because my hairs go this way. So when it comes to me kind of like filling in a little bit more, like sparse areas, I tend to go in the direction of the hairs. So my hairs, the way they grow is they kind of grow like that, which is fine. And then I just kind of like flick it. You see how the brush is doing that? Kind of helps a little bit, grabbing the hairs and coating them in what I need it to cover. See that? The place is gone. I'm going to kind of, again, just kind of like use my spoolie, just lightly. We're lightly brushing. We're not doing like a comb through, because sometimes these spoolies be kind of hurting, to be honest. I'm just like slightly just coat here lightly. Oh gosh, be careful. So sometimes if you feel like the line under here looks a little bit too harsh, like oh crap, they drew on their brows, you can just take the spoolie and just kind of brush it that way. Or you can literally just take the tip of the spoolie, just kind of like do that. See, that's not as prominent. I don't mind this look. I mean, I don't think it looks that bad right now. Yeah, so that's my brows. See that? And we're just gonna double check. The lighting, of course, is very much like a lot, but in person, I'm telling you right now, my brows are right here. Yep, it starts right here. And my brow starts right here. And then oh gosh. And the tail right here, tail right here. And that is it. You see the difference when it comes to like doing your brows? Like it just really changes your face. So for some people, if you have long brow hairs, you might want to like tame it in a way where you might get a brow gel. So there are lots of products out there that are brow gels. You just kind of have to figure out what works for you. But there are brow gels out there to kind of like hold the hairs in place, especially when it's summertime, you're sweating through. So definitely do your research on that, but you can just stop right here. If you are like, you know what, this is good for me, I sit here and yeah, I think this looks fine. Like my face is framed. It looks like I have my life together. And you could just put on some mascara and call it a day. That's pretty much it. I don't know. I hope this was really helpful. I try to be as detailed as I could. Yeah, I was also not expecting to like the ABH brow powder, but this looks bomb. I'm so happy you're here. And yeah, so look out for the next videos and be sure to turn on your notification bell. Little ding ding, I think it's like somewhere here, notification bells, I think it's here or here. So that way you don't miss my next video in this series. This might seem like it's really long. As time goes on, it should not take you like forever. The first couple of times is gonna take a long time, but I think that in general, when it comes to like any, you know, new makeup and you trying out and, you know, dipping your feet into this makeup world, you just kind of have to kind of be open a little bit to just practicing. If you don't practice, I think with any craft, anything that you're doing, if you're not practicing, you can't really expect results, really. I'm keeping it real with y'all. You gotta ask yourself, how bad do I want to be able to fill in my brows? Or do I just want to keep booking a makeup artist every time I want to go out and pay however much money they charge them? I understand supporting small businesses, but you gotta be able to do. You gotta be able to do a little something.
I love a bitch who know how to do her own makeup. I'm not saying you're gonna do your makeup all the time by yourself, but bitch, know how to do a little eyebrow and a little lash.
If you enjoyed this video, I'm so happy you're here. And yeah, be sure to subscribe and like and give me your thoughts and what you want to see next. I have an idea, but yeah, let me know down below. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.